In the last video, I broke down how Trump built his populist image, how Epstein became a symbol of the deep state, their disturbing connection, and how Trump's suspicious actions raised serious questions about who he was really serving, and the way that shaped the right's entire narrative of reality. All of it suggests that the Trump presidency didn't just fall short of its populist promises, it may have actively undermined them. And that means the past decade isn't just worth revisiting, it demands a more critical eye and a deeper scrutiny than ever before. If you've come to question the motivations of Trump in this Epstein saga, now would be a good time to consider what else he's buried. I won't try to convince you of anything and just let the facts speak for themselves. The left's original sin, as I call it, that many cite undermined all of their credibility, was the Russian collusion story. Of course, Trump shut down those investigations after taking office, so we may never know the truth. But look at what he actually did. If these were just coincidences, they were a hell of a streak. While he claimed no ties to Russia,
I have nothing to do with Russia. I have John, how many times do I have to say it? Are you a smart man? I have nothing to do with Russia.
Trump was actively pursuing a Trump Tower Moscow deal deep into the campaign.
I don't deal there. I have no businesses there. I have no loans from Russia.
I have nothing to do with Russia, folks, okay?
His own lawyer, Michael Cohen, testified that Trump was directly involved and lied about it.
So he's lying about a project that everybody knew about. I mean, we were very...
On the world stage, Trump consistently praised Putin as a strong leader while bashing U.S. allies and intelligence agencies. At Helsinki in 2018, he stood next to Putin and publicly sided with him over America's own intel community.
Dan Coates came to me and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
That wasn't a mistake. It was a message. One not received widely enough.
While the Mueller team did not find evidence of criminal conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia, the report does reveal some previously unknown tidbits of information about the summer and fall of 2016.
Mueller didn't prove a criminal conspiracy, but he documented dozens of shady contacts. The Trump Tower meeting, Flynn's secret calls, Manafort's back-channeling, and more. Mueller's report didn't clear Trump. It made clear that they couldn't. Trump's policies also favored the Kremlin. He softened GOP support for Ukraine in 2016. He delayed sanctions. He withheld military aid to Zelensky for dirt on Biden, leading to his first impeachment. And since Russia's invasion, he's echoed Putin's talking points, blaming NATO and Ukraine itself.
Listen, when you start a war, you got to know that you can win the war, right? You don't start a war against somebody that's 20 times your size and then hope that people give you some missiles.
He blocked the release of his tax returns for years, raising questions about his financial entanglements. His one reliable lender, Deutsche Bank, which has its own history of laundering Russian money. And his private meetings with Putin, often without U.S. staff present, leave open the question, what was said, and why it had to be a secret. These are the main points, but it only scratches the surface. Ask yourself, if Trump were compromised, what would he have done differently? His moves align perfectly with Putin's interests.
But overall, thanks to President Donald Trump, relations between Russia and the United States are starting finally to get better.
And while we're on the topic of Putin, guess who was the envoy to Putin in negotiating peace with Ukraine? The special envoy who couldn't even name the occupied regions of Ukraine? The one who won't admit Russia started the war, opposed sanctions, and parroted lies straight from the Kremlin. A guy who has no background whatsoever that would be relevant to such a critical position, which kind of undermines the so-called meritocracy everyone pretends to care about all of a sudden. Steve Witkoff, who also happens to be the special envoy for the Middle East, having met with multiple heads of state. Let's set aside for a moment the fact that Witkoff has long-standing business ties to Gulf state sovereign wealth funds, like Qatar, who donated a $400 million jet to Trump, the country for whom Pam Bondi was registered as a foreign agent in a lobbying firm, closely connected to Trump. As if that's not bad enough.
The answer is yes or no, and the answer is yes. You were registered as a lobbyist for Qatar. Is that correct? Yes. Never mind. Don't answer. What advice did you offer the president?
I am never going to talk about conversations, advice in any way.
Were you asked
I'm
for
never
advice?
going to talk about discussions I've had or have not had.
Witkoff's sons co-founded World Liberty Financial, a crypto company in which the Trump family holds a 60% stake, and Donald himself is on the front page of their website. This company is just another avenue to funnel money into Trump's pockets, which is why he suddenly changed his mind about cryptocurrency. For example, MGX, an AI and technology investment firm run by the UAE's national security advisor, invested $2 billion using the USD1 coin in Binance, a crypto firm Witkoff has ties to. Every USD1 transaction earns Trump a commission through WLF. A couple of weeks after this deal, Steve Witkoff made an agreement giving the UAE access to advanced US computer chips. Everywhere Witkoff goes, look for a quid pro quo. And if Trump is willing to undermine US AI dominance for a quick buck, just imagine what he'd do to cling to power for himself. 2020 election fraud was labeled the big lie by the left. Let's revisit what happened. Over 60 courts looked at Trump's election challenges. Judges appointed by Trump, by Bush, and other Republicans. They threw the cases out. His own Attorney General Bill Barr said there was no widespread fraud. Chris Krebs, Trump's cybersecurity chief, called it the most secure election in American history. Even his lawyers admitted in court that they had no real evidence. And how did Trump respond? He made a call to Georgia officials asking them to find votes. He backed a plan to send fake electors to Congress, pressuring Pence to overturn the results. The former VP didn't denounce him by mistake. And on January 6th, he stood in front of the crowd and told him the election was stolen. He sent them toward the Capitol. He watched for hours and did nothing while the vice president was being evacuated and cops were being beaten. Don't believe me? Why then did Trump later pardon even those who were filmed attacking police officers if he didn't approve of the outcome? If Trump is willing to shield violent offenders for his own gain and protect the elites implicated in the Epstein files, then maybe his motivations were never about the people. Maybe his critics weren't lying after all.
We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need court support.
So what happens next? We're heading into a storm of uncertainty, and none of it looks good for the truth. The Epstein files will be discredited before they're released. Best case scenario for Trump? He keeps as much buried as possible. If the Epstein files ever see the light of day, they'll be watered down, heavily redacted, or strategically discredited beforehand. Just enough sanitized information will be released to give the illusion of transparency, while protecting the people who matter. And MAGA influencers will do what they do best: spin it, rationalize it, or ignore it completely. Even if Trump's name shows up, the sunk cost fallacy will win. Too many have built their identity around the idea that he's the one who would finally expose the elite. They're not turning back now. They'll call it a deep state smear, say the docs are fake, or shrug it off entirely. There's a chance Ghislaine Maxwell, now sitting in prison, could offer testimony favorable to Trump. Not because it's true, but because it's useful. To save herself or protect others, she might give Trump cover, cast doubt, or distract. The DOJ might offer a commuted sentence, given the severity of her crimes have all of a sudden lessened. Trump has already distanced himself from the decisions of the DOJ, as if the unitary executive theory vanished into thin air. But credible or not, without transparency, even bad information becomes ammunition. As public interest explodes, opportunists will rush in. Influencers, pundits, and politicians on all sides will twist the story for views, donations, or clicks. The left will scream, "We told you so," the right will claim fake news, and the truth will get buried under a pile of profitable noise. The deep state will stay ambiguous, by design. That's the genius of it. The deep state isn't meant to be defined, it's meant to be useful. As long as it remains murky, people can project whatever they want onto it. It keeps accountability at arm's length, and lets Trump and others pretend they're fighting it, while working with the very elites they claim to oppose. More enemies will be named. To protect friends, some names will get exposed, not because the system is clearing house, but because it needs scapegoats. A few celebrities, media figures, maybe even lower-level political players will be thrown under the bus to make it seem like justice is happening. Meanwhile, the ones truly pulling the strings remain untouched. Epstein's financial web will stay off limits. Don't expect real scrutiny into Epstein's money. The shell companies, offshore accounts, and real estate deals. Because the trail doesn't stop with him. It leads to billionaires, banks, and governments. And no one in power wants that curtain pulled back. A new Epstein story will surface eventually. Someone will pivot the story. A new scandal, real or fake, will take the spotlight. It'll let the public move on before any real answers are found. It won't matter that the Epstein case was never resolved. The distraction will have done its job. Culture wars will keep the truth divided, and through it all, Trump will do what he does best. Throw red meat to his base. Trans issues, immigrants, cancel culture, anything to keep the outrage machine running. The left will gloat and call for justice. The right will double down. And the files, the crimes, the victims, lost in the noise. Eventually, people will tune out. The slow drip of non-answers, redacted reports, and social media screaming matches will wear people down. People will get tired. And as they check out, the system will quietly close the book. No justice, no accountability, just silence. But that's my prediction. I want to hear yours. Tell me in the comments, what do you think happens if those Epstein files ever drop? Does Trump get exposed? Do his supporters turn on him? Or does the whole thing quietly disappear? Say your predictions down below, and while you're at it, hit the like button and subscribe. I'd like to spend more time making something a little bit better than the lazy talking point slop plaguing political discourse. And that would be a great motivator. I look forward to seeing you in part 3.